Welcome, my friends. Evan Gray here. Thank you for joining me for this episode. Today I'm experiencing, I guess, what I'm going to call a solar crisis. Let's roll the intro and I'll get into it. This video is sponsored by Renowned Cargo Trailers. For the past several days, I've been parked outside of Payson, Arizona, a small town up in the mountains. It's absolutely gorgeous here, really fantastic. And I'm parked slightly off the road along the edge, and it's a beautiful area. The only downside is that I only get a little bit of sunlight during the day. Over the past week that I've been here, I've been losing about 5% of power each day. So I've been watching it very, very carefully. What I haven't told you in past episodes was that about 2 months ago, I needed to move my entire wood panel all my electronics are mounted on over about 5 inches, and that resulted in 2 of the wires from the solar panels not being long enough. The center set of panels, I have 6 panels, so they're in sets of 2, and I have 3 solar charge controllers. So I turned off one of the solar charge controllers and disconnected the wires, moved the panel over, and it's been running fine for 2 months just on the 2 panels, charges easily every day. Well, because I was losing power over the last week or so, I decided yesterday to hook up the panels. Well, something freaky happened. I'm not sure exactly what. So yesterday it looked like I was getting more power. I had sunlight late afternoon. The new panels, the other 2 panels, so I had a total of 6 running, were able to bring my power up to 91%, down from the mid 80s. So I was feeling pretty good about life. And then I sat down, watched a movie, did a couple other things on my computer in the evening, and then when I was ready to go to bed, I decided to check the power again, and it said it was at 55%, and I was like dumbfounded. How in the world could the battery levels drop from 91 to 55 just in the matter of about 3 hours? That really was strange for me. Nothing else has changed with all my electronics, and none of my use has changed. I haven't moved the parking situation or anything. Well, as you can tell, it's rather dark in here, so you can probably guess at exactly what is going on here. But yesterday when I hooked up the extra 2 panels, I went through the charge controller, verified that all of the settings were correct, that it was on lithium, that it was on 24 volts, that it matched the other 2 controllers. You can see the 3 controllers up here in the back. The center one was the one, see, get my finger there. Center one was the one that I hooked up. So anyway, I went to bed, it was 55. I turned off all the inverters, I turned off all the power just to conserve power overnight. And this morning when I woke up, I was laying in bed, I checked the Victron Bluetooth controller, and it said my battery power was at 25%. I just am dumbfounded how that could get to 25%. But I thought, well, these things can go down to 0. I'll just make my coffee and then drive into town, and that way I can park in full sun and get these things powered up. So I went to push the button on the coffee maker. As soon as I did, the inverters started screaming. I started getting clicking noises back here. So I ran over, turned off the inverter again, and tried to determine where the clicking's coming from. And these batteries up here were saying error, error, and now they are saying 21.6 volts. So that is not exactly great, I think. And I looked at the Victron. These also, when you click over to show the battery level, says 0. It says my batteries are at 0. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, so I'm going to pack up everything here, hook up the trailer, and drive into town so I can park in full sunlight here in a couple hours. I'm going to try to make some telephone calls, see if I can figure out from other people what in the world is going on. I've been dealing with batteries and solar panel for 5.5 years now. With my van for a little bit over 4 years, never had any problems like this. Never saw a draw overnight from 91% down to 0. That is just phenomenal. and I have no idea exactly what is happening here, but it is a little bit stressful and troubling. I'm going to go hit the road. Hopefully I'll be able to figure out what's going on soon. I've arrived in Payson, about 15 minutes from where I was camped. I drove straight here. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. And as soon as I arrived and parked in full sunlight, I wanted to go in back and check on the solar just to see in 15 minutes if I'm getting solar, if I'm getting any sort of power off to the panels, if it's charging the batteries. Just wanted to see. I'm really concerned about this situation. Looked inside, and I have two ways to tell the voltage just based on controls. One is a Victron Smart Shunt, and that's very accurate. It said I'm at 97%, and then my Renogy Rover controllers, each of those said I was at 100%. So that's a little bit baffling. I went ahead and just walked next door to try to de-stress, figure things out, and get some breakfast, just sit down, have some comfort food. And I came to the conclusion that maybe one of my cold temperature sensors kicked off and was locking the system up. That's the only thing I can conclude that might cause this kind of situation and the quick reversal. I don't know. I think it was about 45, 47 degrees this morning. I've had mornings that cold or colder, so nowhere near freezing. I would be surprised if that's what it is, but that's the only conclusion I can come up with. If you have any thoughts on what might be going on, please write your comments below. I'm interested to hear what you have to think. Well, it's a couple hours later. I am in Payson right now and parked in a parking lot. Good news is the solar panels are bringing down the power. The two panels that I hooked up yesterday appear to be working perfectly. No problems there at all. Bringing down over 1,500 watts right now, and it's still morning time here. So things are looking really good. Charging quickly. I got off the phone with Scott down in San Diego. He's the guy that helped me with wiring diagrams. He's sort of my go-to guy for any questions about electronics. And he seems to think that something was draining my system, or maybe my numbers were not quite correct over this last week. But he thinks that my batteries probably did drop below the minimum that were needed for the inverter to work, or for my converter from 24 to 12 volts to be operating correctly. So he thinks I did really drop very, very low in my lithium batteries. But the good news is I'm doing exactly what I need to, which is getting full sunlight and getting a full charge. So I think I'm probably going to be charged completely here in the next hour or two, which is fantastic. That's all I have for this episode. If you have any thoughts on what might have gone wrong with the thing overnight, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Savor the moment, and I'll see you in a future video.